If you want to get into bread making, this is the easiest bread you can ever make. Only takes 12 minutes to make the dough the night before, and then 40 minutes to bake it the next morning. Let me show you how it's done. This is what you call an overnight bread. Basically, what that means is you mix everything together the night before, you put it into your fridge overnight, so it's going to ferment and cold for that first rise. Makes it a little bit easier to work with. What you want to do is start with 1.5 cups of warm water at 110 to 120 degrees Fahrenheit. Add in 1 tablespoon sugar, 1 tablespoon yeast. Stir that and set that aside for 10 minutes to become active. In a large bowl, add 3 cups flour, 1.5 teaspoons salt. Mix that to combine, and then add in your yeasty, frothy mixture. Look how much this thing has bubbled up in the last 10 minutes. Add that in and stir that to combine. You're going to want to make a rough dough ball with a spatula first, and then use your hands after that to actually knead the dough. Only takes 5 minutes to form a rough dough ball. The trick after that is to use a wet hand. So I just have some water here. I'm dipping my hand into the water and mixing the dough around to make that dough ball. So I'm scooping all the flour on the side of the bowl with the wet hand, mixing it together, putting my fingers back into the water, going back into the dough. This is also adding some hydration to the dough, which is really neat as well. You want the dough to be pretty wet during this process, so you just keep on doing like a pull and fold method where you're pulling the dough from the side and folding it back into itself. Do this until you have a dough ball formed like this, and then cover it with a lid and place it in the fridge overnight, at least 8 hours. So this is the next morning. Let's check it out. Boom. This thing has doubled in size. Get it onto a floured work surface and then degas it with a nice punch. Now continue kneading the dough for 4 to 5 minutes, where you're just pulling the dough out from the side and folding it into itself. The alternative method is a slap and fold, where you pull it up from the side, slap it down, turn it, slap it down again, and then turn and slap, and continue doing that for a few minutes until the dough ball gets nice and firm and taut and has some resistance to it. When you press it in, it will firm back up and bounce back up into place. So just do this for a few minutes until you get a dough ball that looks like this. Now preheat your oven to 450 degrees with a Dutch oven inside, because that's what you're going to use to actually bake this bread, and that Dutch oven needs to be preheated. What I like to do is just cover this dough ball and leave it out on the counter for that 20-30 minutes while the oven is preheating. Into the preheated Dutch oven, add in parchment paper, a sprinkle of flour, your dough ball, sprinkle some more flour on top, and then cover it with the lid and stick it into the oven to bake for 30 minutes. After 30 minutes, remove the lid, turn down the oven temperature to 400 degrees Fahrenheit, and bake for another 10 to 15 minutes until nice and golden brown like this. Check this out. This bread had a nice rise to it, was crispy, soft in the center. Let's check it out. Listen to this cut. That crust was unbelievable. The inside crumb looks great too. Not super airy because it is an overnight proof where you're not doing strengthening stretches throughout the fermentation period. But nonetheless, this was a great bread, super soft interior. My kiddo, the ultimate taste tester in my family, approved. This is the easiest bread for beginners by far. Definitely check it out. Subscribe for more.